Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Report, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Saria Strzemska. And we begin in Ukraine, where Vladimir Putin has unleashed another wave of strikes, despite promises to Donald Trump that attacks would be put on hold because of the harsh winter conditions. Air raid sirens echoed across the country, from Kharkiv and Dnipro to Kupiansk, forcing civilians to rush to shelter in freezing temperatures. Following this latest attack, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy invited Vladimir Putin to come to Kyiv for talks, if he dares.
Situation take place.
On Thursday, Donald Trump announced that Vladimir Putin agreed to stop attacking Ukrainian towns and cities for a week.
I personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kyiv and the various towns for a week, and he agreed to do that.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Friday that Vladimir Putin agreed to a personal request from Donald Trump and will stop bombing Kyiv until February 1st. It is unclear whether this halt will apply to other cities within the same time frame. Kyiv residents don't take the claims seriously.
I trust neither Putin nor Trump. So I think that even if Putin complies now, he will stockpile missiles and will keep firing. Putin's goal is the destruction of Ukraine.
I don't trust this. The Ukrainian people have been promised so much, so many things have happened, and unfortunately, those promises are not being fulfilled.
This is what Ukraine looks like on Friday. In Zaporizhia, civilian homes were destroyed.
It's very difficult emotionally. I even had to take my heart medication. We are left with nothing. Everything is burned down. Look for yourself. Is there anything you can see there now?
I heard a buzzing sound and managed to leave the room. Right after that, a window flew out behind me.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy took to social media following Donald Trump's statements on halting Russian attacks.
Ukraine is ready for meetings. Ukraine is ready for decisions. And we expect our partners to be able to act as effectively as possible. In Europe, in the United States, everywhere. Exactly as required for a lasting peace.
On Friday, Zelenskyy rejected an invitation to attend talks with Vladimir Putin in Moscow, despite the Kremlin's claims that it can provide the Ukrainian president with adequate security. Kyiv's leader added he is ready to meet, but in a more appropriate format.
Poland signed a major defense contract on Friday for what Prime Minister Donald Tusk described as a breakthrough anti-drone air defense system. A move, he says, could be a real game-changer for protecting NATO's eastern flank. The agreement covers the SAN anti-drone system, with unofficial estimates putting the cost at around 3.4 billion euros.
Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk inspects a new anti-drone system known as the SAN. The cutting-edge kit will form the cornerstone of the country's defences against UAVs along the eastern border.
Today, we are witnessing an absolute breakthrough in terms of effective defense of Poland's, Europe's and NATO's eastern border. There is no other system in Europe today comparable to this integrated smart defense platform, primarily designed to counter drones.
Tusk cited the drone incursions in September last year, which demonstrated the inadequacy of using fighter jets or missiles to counter unmanned systems.
The SAN platform provides a more effective, cheaper and smarter way to shoot down airborne threats.
The SAN system will be built by companies from the Polish armaments group, along with privately owned APS and Norway's Kongsberg. Poland's defence minister said the SAN air defence system may become a signature Polish arms export product.
I had a chance to present our innovative solutions while at the Ramstein base yesterday for a meeting of NATO defense ministers, at the invitation of the leader of US forces in Europe and the leader of all NATO forces, as well as the NATO Secretary General. I do believe that the SAN system will become Poland's signature export product, a key brand of the Polish defense industry.
The entire program is to be completed within 2 years at a cost, according to unofficial reports, of around 3.4 billion euros.
Tensions between Europe and the United States over Greenland have reignited an old debate in Brussels, whether the EU needs its own army. The bloc's top diplomat has been quick to play down the idea. Joining me now is our Europe correspondent, Alex Kadir. Good afternoon, Alex. Good to see you. So we've seen Spain and others pushing for a common European military, but is that even a realistic prospect?
Well, good afternoon, Sally. At the moment, it doesn't seem like a very realistic prospect, but as you said, that debate has been revived because there is a desire from some European countries to find an alternative to relying on the United States for European security, as the continent has done for decades, and in the context of increasing hostility from Donald Trump and his administration. So we have heard the Spanish Foreign Minister, as you said, calling for that European army. Even the Defense Commissioner at the European Commission, Andrius Kubilius, calling for exploring a European army, finding a way to have a unified military under perhaps the banner of the European Union. We've heard from the EU's top diplomat, also at the European Commission, Kaja Kallas, on this.
I can't imagine that countries will create a separate European army. So it has to be the armies that already exist. So we need to see how that works in practice. For me, it is understandable that in military you have to have a very straight and understandable chain of command so that whenever something happens, it's clear who gives orders to whom.
So clearly there, Kaja Kallas pouring some cold water on the idea. I've also spoken to European officials in the last couple of days who said that the Defence Commissioner may not have been speaking in an official capacity. The Commission's position is not that a European army is necessary, but there is, however, a need for more European defence cooperation, more interoperability, which is the ability, of course, for these militaries to work together side by side. One possible in-between, one possible alternative to have some kind of military presence under a European banner was presented by the Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski.
I believe that talking about a federal army is pointless and unrealistic because national armies will not be merged. But we could form what I would call a European Legion, initially a brigade-sized unit open to citizens of EU member states and perhaps candidate countries, with agreed rules on the use of force, politically accountable to the Foreign Affairs and Security Council, and funded from the EU budget.
So perhaps a bit of a halfway house solution there proposed by the Polish Foreign Minister. There will be questions, of course, because there is a desire across the European Union to bring more defence spending, to try and not rely on the United States for the European security. Exactly how will still be debated. And of course, NATO is already here within the European context. But again, still that push from some quarters of the European Union for a European army.
Alex Gary reporting from Brussels. Thank you. Much appreciated. And speaking of security, if the United States can no longer be relied on for nuclear protection, that creates a dangerous gap in Europe's defence. Ian McNamara, a researcher at the Finnish Institute of International Affairs who spoke with TP World, argues that Europe can't afford to leave that vacuum open. And one possible solution would be to strengthen and expand Britain's and France's nuclear forces, effectively turning them into a more European shared deterrent.
Well, I think the actions of the Trump administration over the past year in the United States have backed us into a corner to think about this. If we cannot rely on the United States for extended deterrence anymore, and remember, I mean, the best extended deterrence is when these weapons are not used and they keep our defense watertight against external aggression. It is a very efficient means of defense when it works. So kind of where the US to withdraw its security guarantees, leaving a vacuum there would be very, very dangerous for Europe regarding, conventional aggression, which we've seen Russia wage very brutally in Ukraine. So we can't really leave that vacuum open up. We have options, but those options involve tweaking, not just tweaking, transforming the UK and the French deterrents, Europeanizing them, and indeed modernizing them and expanding these nuclear arsenals as well.
And now for some good news on the domestic front. Poland's economy grew by 3.6% last year, according to preliminary figures from Statistics Poland. That makes Poland the fastest growing large economy in the European Union in 2025.
This is the head of Statistics Poland, and he has some very good news.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have only good news for the Polish economy, which expanded in 2025 by 3.6%. When it comes to economic performance, We are surging ahead.
The data confirms the upward path the Polish economy has found itself on recently, and makes the country the fastest-growing big economy in the European Union.
The Irish economy probably expanded faster than ours, but as we all know, this is due to the country's specifics when it comes to GDP assessments.
According to Statistics Poland, the main driver of growth was the Polish consumer, who last year enjoyed solid growth in real wages. With the 2025 figure out, economists are starting to predict what 2026 will bring. And if there's one word describing their forecasts for Poland, it's optimism. PKO, the second biggest Polish bank, predicted that Poland's economy will expand even faster this year, increasing by around 4%. And in 2027, the rate of expansion is projected to slow but still be impressive. It remains to be seen whether those numbers will materialize.
A quick look at sports. Poland's Olympic team is heading to Italy for Winter Games. Medal favorites, experienced Olympians and first-time competitors all took part in a ceremonial send-off ahead of the event. Our reporter Paweł Trzaskowski was there and has the story.
60 athletes are going to represent Poland during Winter Olympics in Italy that are starting on Friday next week. Today, they took an Olympic oath in Warsaw during an official send-off ceremony attended by Polish President Karol Nawrocki. Polish Olympians are hoping to improve on the result from 4 years ago from Beijing. They brought a single medal, bronze by Dawid Kubacki in ski jumping. This year, realistic medal perspectives are seen in speed skating and snowboarding. However, Polish athletes are going to compete in up to 16 disciplines, and I bet all of them dream of Olympic glory. From the Olympic Center in Poland for TVP World, I'm Paweł Trzaskowski.
Poland's space agency has been put on alert as Chinese rocket is deorbiting and entering Earth's atmosphere. Because its flight path passes over parts of Europe, there is a small risk that debris could reach the ground in Poland.
This is the Juche-3, China's first reusable rocket. The commercial carrier propelled by liquid methane is seen as a direct competitor to Elon Musk's Falcon 9. The rocket, launched into orbit in late December, is making its return to Earth.
The first part of this rocket deorbited almost successfully. The rocket crashed during deorbiting, while the second part, weighing 11 tons, which was placed in a preliminary orbit, is deorbiting.
The debris from the Chinese rocket may not completely burn up in Earth's atmosphere, which means that some parts may fall on Earth. And since the rocket flies above Poland 3 times in the decisive phase, the Polish Space Agency was tasked with monitoring the situation to inform relevant services about potential risks.
The craft orbits the Earth 15 to 16 times a day. Because the Earth rotates, these passes occur in different places. Therefore, such a pass may occur several times a day over a given area.
Chances that any part of the Juche-3 falls on Poland are extremely low. The Polish Government Security Center issued a statement saying that there are no indications that citizens should take any action in connection with the deorbiting rocket. But caution is advised, especially since last year Poland experienced a spatial crash. In February 2025, debris from SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket fell on Polish soil. No one was hurt in that incident.
And finally, a story with a bit of gloss and a very big price tag. A new documentary titled Melania, which follows the last 20 days before the presidential couple's return to the White House from the First Lady's perspective, premiered on Thursday. The film reportedly cost $75 million to make, earning it the title of the most expensive documentary ever produced. Directed by Brett Ratner, a Hollywood director whose career suffered following multiple sexual misconduct allegations, the movie is projected to earn between $1 and $5 million on opening night. The film was produced by Amazon MGM Studios, which offered Melania Trump $40 million to secure the necessary rights. Another $35 million was spent on production and marketing. And with this, we conclude our news update. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.